You ever try fitting into jeans two sizes too small and you know good and well they don't fit, but you keep yanking and jumping and hoping they'll magically stretch? Well, that's what forcing a relationship looks like. You're trying to squeeze into something that was never tailored for you. And the worst part, well, you're asking God to bless it. You're looking up in the sky and you're saying, Lord, why am I struggling so much in this relationship? And God is like, well, because I never told you to be in it. Some of you are praying over something God's been trying to shut down. You're asking for healing in a relationship. That's the very reason you're broken. It's like trying to put out a fire with gasoline and then asking why the flames keep getting bigger and bigger. God doesn't bless chaos. He doesn't partner with confusion, and he absolutely does not put his stamp of approval on what deep down inside is already out of order. Listen, God's not going to bless the relationship that you keep forcing just because you're afraid of being alone. He's not going to co-sign your emotional chaos or just because you've labeled it as love. You keep calling it a test from God. It's not. It's a test that you failed over and over and over again, and God's just waiting for you to stop signing up for the same damn class. He didn't enroll you in it. You did, and now you're begging for him to curve the grade. Understand that when God removes someone, it's not rejection, it's protection and divine redirection. You see it as a loss, but he sees it as mercy. You don't know what's happening behind closed doors. You don't, see the heart like he does. You don't hear the private conversations, the secret habits, the things that would wreck you if they came to light. But God, he sees it all. So when he pulls someone out of your life, trust that it wasn't random. It was a rescue mission, but what do most people do? You chase after the ones that God escorted out. You resend the text message, you follow the page again, you rehearse the fantasy, and while you're busy trying to breathe life into dead connections, you're ignoring the very breath that God's trying to breathe onto you. If peace has left the building, so has God. And if God left, what exactly are you fighting for? An explanation of why they cheated? Another season of toxicity? A dinner date to avoid your loneliness? Come on. You can't expect a kingdom blessings while dating someone who's still loyal to the world. God doesn't do half light, half dark. That's not how he rolls. His blessings are rooted in truth, not compromise. So if you're bending your values just to keep someone, then you've already lost more than the relationship. You've lost yourself. I get it. Loneliness is real. Desperation, well, it can get loud, but don't confuse noise for confirmation, because just because they came at the right time, it doesn't mean that they're the right person. Sometimes the devil sends distractions disguised as your type. Just because they go to church and pray with you, it doesn't mean they're led by spirit. You keep asking for a sign, but God gave you 10. You just didn't like what he said, so you called it fear. You called it doubt. You said, well, maybe I'm just overthinking it. No, you're under discipline. You don't want to do the hard thing, which is to walk away and have some self-respect and dignity. You want God to do everything but hold you accountable. But accountability is the currency of elevation. You can't ask, for God's best while refusing to let go of the bare minimum. And let's talk about friendships too, because this ain't just about romantic relationships. Some of you are dragging friendships that expired like 5 years ago into your next season, wondering why your spirit feels heavy. You're praying for purpose while surrounding yourself with people who don't understand your growth, who want to, drink and party all the time, who say you've changed and now you're boring. Well, I say to those people, you may not like that I've changed, but I love who I'm growing into. Listen to me. God, he will never send a person into your life to doubt and be unsupportive of his transformation in you. If you're being forced to shrink in order to be accepted, then that's not your circle. That's your cage. 2 Corinthians 6:14 is clear. Do not be unequally yoked with unbelievers. Now, that doesn't just mean spiritually. It means mindset. It means purpose. It means values. I have friends that, I used to go out and drink and party 6 nights a week. Yes, I'm not exaggerating. 6 nights a week. Now, I no longer live that kind of lifestyle because it doesn't serve who I've grown into. I no longer hang out with those friends because, their lifestyle and priorities that don't align with mine, and that's okay. It doesn't mean that they're not my friends. They are. We text and see each other, once in a while, but I've grown out of that lifestyle that I used to live, and I owe it all to God, my mother, may she rest in peace, and Rosie. And I'll make a future video on how I found Christ. If that's something that you, ladies and gentlemen, are interested in, in hearing, maybe in a video down the line. But let me also add that staying in a toxic relationship or friendship, just because you feel that you invested so much time with them, it's not the way to get God's blessing. It's time. It's not a reason to stay where God, said, get away from there. It's like saying, I've been driving, in the wrong direction for 3 hours. I might as well keep going. No, turn around. Don't let emotional history become spiritual slavery. Your destiny is not chained to how long you've known them. Your healing does not require their validation, and your future will never depend on someone who doesn't respect your present. Isaiah 60:22 says, when the time is right, I, the Lord, will make it happen. So if it's not happening, stop forcing it. God's not late. He's protecting you from premature exposure. He's building something in you that requires time, trust, and obedience. But obedience, it means walking away when it no longer aligns, when it's, not when it's convenient, not when you stop loving them, but when He says it's time. Imagine you're baking a cake. You got the flour, the sugar, the butter, everything is set, but then you crack the eggs and then you realize they're rotten. What do? Well, you would think you toss the eggs and get new ones, right? But no, some of you go, well, maybe it'll cook out, and you stir the mess anyway. Then you get mad when the cake tastes like shit and regret. Well, that's what your relationship looks like. You saw red flags, you smelt the emotional rot, but you mixed it into your future anyway. Stop asking God to bless a cake you baked with spoiled ingredients. Sometimes the reason the door hasn't opened is because you're standing at the wrong one. You're banging on the door of someone who doesn't even have the capacity to love you. You're waiting on a text while God is waiting on your obedience. You're looking for closure from someone who God already closed the chapter on. You're not stuck because God isn't speaking. You're stuck because you won't listen. Psalms 84:11 says, no good thing will He withhold from those who walk uprightly. Now, that means that if He's withholding it, it's either not good or you're not walking right. That's a gut check right there, because we love to blame God for our delay, but don't want to admit that we're the ones out of position. You can't walk into a palace while dancing in the pig pen. You can't ask for royalty while sleeping with rebellion. Sometimes growth starts with comfort ends. Sometimes love, it doesn't sound like encouragement. Sometimes love, it sounds like confrontation. And I'm telling you this because I want better for you. I want you to stop giving yourself away for crumbs. Stop labeling dysfunction as loyalty. Stop trying to rehab what God already condemned. The love God has for you, it doesn't play games. It's not inconsistent. It doesn't leave you guessing. It shows up, it speaks life, and it reflects Christ. If what you're into doesn't reflect that, then it's not a blessing. It's a lesson, one that will keep you repeating until you finally graduate. So if you're still holding on to someone who brings more confusion than clarity, let go. If you're still praying over a relationship that keeps pulling you away from your purpose, let go. If your circle makes you feel drained instead of driven, let go. Don't settle for a life that God didn't author just because you're afraid of, turning the page. The next chapter only begins when you put the pen back in His hands. God can't bless the relationship that you keep forcing, but He can absolutely bless the obedience it takes to walk away. So choose obedience, choose peace, choose Him, and watch what He builds when you finally stop settling for what's breaking you. If you guys enjoyed this video, then you know what to do. Smash the like button for the YouTube algorithm. Subscribe if you haven't already. And if you enjoy this video, then also the YouTube algorithm suggests that you'd probably enjoy one of these two videos right here. Thanks for watching, and I'll catch you on, one of these videos right here. Have a blessed day.